Hello, welcome to the Words and Chalk podcast. My name is Jake Nathan.
And his name is Jake Nathan.
And we're going to talk today about some more inspiration. We dabbled in it last time. We're going to talk about some people that inspired us to start writing.
Joe inspires me. I'm just going to jump in quickly.
Yeah.
Aaron Shrimpton.
Aaron Shrimpton is a very inspirational man.
He is an inspirational man. What does he do, Jake?
He is a director, editor. He's a spoken word poet, and a much better spoken word poet than he thinks he is.
He is.
He's also the third member of Words in Chalk.
He is.
He's the one that told us to make this podcast, essentially. It was his idea.
Yeah, it was his idea.
Yeah. So,
which is why he's not with us recording it.
Obviously, yeah. You
quite
come
like
up with an idea for a podcast, you're not going to get involved with it, are you? Just let other people do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Aaron's role in this whole thing.
What is Words in Chalk?
Words in Chalk is us. It's Jake Nathan, it's Aaron Shrimpton, it's SVNTY6. We are three spoken word poets who connected through poetry, and we are working together. We've got an event coming up called Words in Chalk, and the name Words in Chalk comes because our first event is going to be in Chalkwell Park at Metal, which is we've taken over the pavilion in Chalkwell Park. They're an arts centre. We're going to be putting on a spoken word poetry event there with an extraordinary lineup. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. So you should definitely come down and see that.
We've got Sadie Davidson, MEP mate,
MEP, unbelievable. Bexy Bex, but Hazel Mehmet hosting, who's an excellent poet in her own right, as well as being a lovely host.
And the last minute edition, don't forget Kanye West will be there.
Kanye West is going to be there. Snoop pulled out.
Yes, yeah. So classic Snoop.
We've drafted in Kanye.
Yeah, Kanye's coming down.
It's going to be his Chalkwell debut, I think.
Yeah, he's really excited about it.
Yeah.
He is.
So yeah, get yourself down to that. Follow us on Instagram, words.in.chalk. Find out more information about that. You can follow me too if you want. I'm Jake Nathan Creates.
I'm 76 Spoken, SVNTY6 Spoken. We're going to now record a little cut-in, just in case it comes out after the event. Thanks everyone for coming to the Words in Chalk event. That was unbelievable.
It was incredible.
If you've ever seen like a full Wembley, like a World Cup final, not there has been one at Wembley, but just a picture in your head.
There has been one.
Oh, there has been one?
Yeah.
Oh, I should watch the telly more often, shouldn't I? Yeah. It was this sport that everyone keeps going on about.
Yeah. Well, we won it, didn't we? Yeah, 66 at Wembley. That was
different Wembley.
Same space. Different stadium.
This podcast has taken a very interesting turn. Very interesting turn. But no, it was a massive event. Thanks everyone for coming. There was at least 700 people there. Every poet smashed it. There was tears, there was laughter, lots of high fives, hugs.
Two streakers,
yeah.
It was quite the event.
Yeah, it was quite the event. It was incredible.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming, everyone. And welcome to Words in Chalk podcast. Thanks for tuning in for this third one. Effectively, Jake and I, sometimes Aaron, and other times we'll have guests. We'll talk about being word nerds.
Being word nerds, nerdy word boys.
Yeah, why we love words, lyrics, puns.
Why we write.
Yep, being an MC, being a poet, all that good stuff.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about people that inspire us today. And you mentioned him jokingly earlier that seeing Aaron perform was actually a big thing for you.
Yeah, Aaron's performance. Well, pre-Aaron, because I'm friends with Scroobius Pip, I watched Pip's journey and the unwavering effort and focus that he put into his career, from just working on HMV with me and a good few of our friends, to deciding that he wanted to write, to not going out and staying in and writing and recording. He used to give me the CDs of all of his demos, which I still have, and they're the only ones on the planet. He's never getting them back, and no one else is getting them. Right, so I've got all Pip's original demos and a cappellas as well. But yeah, he sacrificed a lot and dedicated a lot, and he thoroughly deserves every single piece of success that he's had. So I mean, that for me is inspiring.
Yeah.
But also seeing that, I thought I could never do that.
Yeah.
And it almost put me off.
Yeah.
So yeah, cheers Pip for just fucking ruining my spoken word hip hop thing for putting that for about 10 years. But then our mutual friend Aaron, director, writer extraordinaire of New Waverley Studios, myself and my gorgeous fiancée, Dovesy Design, Tasha, went to see him at Peggy's perform, because I didn't actually know that he did spoken word. I had no idea that he did it, and I've known him for years. But that's how humble he is about it, I guess.
Yeah.
And it blew me away. And I saw you the same night. Blew me away. Super inspired me. And with a lot of pushing and encouragement from Natasha, I decided to put pen to paper.
Yeah.
And write.
Yeah, just to leave it there.
Yeah, just touched it on there for a bit.
Yeah, I think seeing someone who is a peer do something that you want to be able to do can be a massive inspiration. And when it's someone like Pip, who, like, everything I hear about him is how hard he works everything, how seriously he takes everything, like the focus that he has. Seeing someone like that can make you think it's impossible, but then seeing someone that you just look at and think you're like me and you're doing it can be a huge inspiration. I remember, like, it wasn't a friend for me, but seeing someone who sounded like me, like a kid from London, getting up and doing stuff like the grime scene, people like achieving these massive things, and like they're literally from around the corner for me. Like Kano, I'm from East London. I used to see Kano at Park playing football and stuff.
Oh, nice.
First time I ever saw him on TV was the Streets Fit But You Know It remix, and he's like walking towards camera rapping, and I'm like, I know that kid. I didn't know his name. I didn't personally know him, but I knew his face. Yeah. I was like, that's someone that is like come from where I'm from, and he's doing stuff, and it took me a lot longer than seeing that to actually get up and do it. But seeing people who are like you and from where you're from do it can be a gigantic inspiration. Just showing you, like, oh, people like me can do it. And then you get the people that you like, that you admire, like, massively. Like, we're both hip hop fans, so you hear people like listen to a Wu-Tang record and they're ridiculous. Like, I don't even know like one word to describe it.
But so when you say see like someone who's from your town,
yeah,
and they can do it, so you and Kano, for example, or me and Pip, and you see them do it, that's when you think it's real.
Yeah. When
you listen to a Wu-Tang or a Common or a Slum Village, whoever, Trouble Quest, whoever it might be, you've got no connection with those guys, and they're already like incredible at what they do. You haven't necessarily seen the journey. Yeah. But then what inspires me and makes me think, do you know what, maybe I can do something with this, is, again, it maybe sounds silly, but the Wu-Tang American Saga on Disney Plus, the series. Yeah. They were like friends stroke enemies up from school or different housing projects that had an idea, and they all started doing it, and then they became what they became. It's the same journey. Yeah, I don't think it matters where you're from, but that's a block, I think, that we put in our head. Yeah. Like, you hear it all the time. It could be someone like Adele or fucking, I can't think of any other pop star. All of a sudden, like Justin Bieber or someone, they're like, oh, I never thought like someone from a little town like so-and-so. What does it matter where you're from? Yeah. I think it's the application and the dedication and the evolution that you put into it. Yeah, for sure. Like, listening to Liquid Swords, I'm like, this man is incredible. What an album. Yeah, like... Tommy ain't my motherfucking boy. When your fake moves on it, yeah. When you listen to stuff like that, they look like they sing like gods. Like, that's something I would love to be able to do, not necessarily something that I can do. Yeah. And you need to see people around you doing stuff. That's why I think it's really important to be around creative people. Like, my mates that I grew up with, like, I met them at college, and we're really tight, still really tight to this day, but no one else in that group is necessarily that creative.
And it took me making friends sort of outside that group to make myself go and do things. Not that they weren't encouraging. Whenever I told them my plans I had, it was like, cool, do it. But not having other people around me doing the same thing was something I lacked.
I'm super similar to you. I recognise that entirely. Like my group of friends at college, I wouldn't have wanted to break away with fear of being ridiculed.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they would have been... It would have been friendly banter, but I don't know if there would have been encouragement or belief there. It would have been just a lot of piss taking.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way, because like you're 16, 17, 18 years old. That's what you do with your mates.
Yeah.
But I wasn't around anyone creative or inspiring at that time.
Yeah. The only one of our group that really did anything was my mate Andy. He wanted to be a DJ. So we went on that journey with him and travelled all over the place for him to DJ. And I found that inspiring, but at the time I hadn't dealt with my anxiety enough to be able to do anything with it. I was still crippled by it. So I was super proud of Andy and was like supporting him all the way. Like we drove everywhere with him to watch him DJ or take him to DJ. And I guess he wasn't a very early inspiration for me, like, you can go and do stuff if you want to do it. He very quickly was like getting bookings all over the place, and just through pure persistence and doing it.
Yeah. Well, we kind of touched on that in either the last or the first episode.
Yeah.
Just the only difference is people do it. I mean, that your mate Andy, that's exactly with Pip. Like him and Alan, aka Overview, Glasson, aka Emonomy at the time, and I believe Ice Cold Muck 3000, Matt, essentially went round with Pip on exactly the same journey, just playing gigs outside pub gardens, asking if they could be the warm-up act to blah blah blah, just literally just doing it over and over and over again, and it paid off.
Yeah, and I think we're lucky in this moment that there's gigs set up for us to go and do. So you don't have to have that drive necessarily. No. You can turn up at Peggy's on one Sunday a month and go and do a bit of poetry.
Exactly. I've done 7 live performances now.
And how many of them were at Peggy's?
3.
So it's, just like having spaces for people to get up is a great thing. And I'm sure I didn't know where to get up actually the first time I did it. I went to a music open mic, or a venue that did a music open mic, and said, do you take poetry? I knew the owner, and she said, yeah, of course we do. Like, do you want me to put you down? And I said, oh no, I'll come down and do it soon. So I was shitting myself. Yeah. But later that day I made myself message her and be like, put me on the list for the next one. Yeah. And I went down and did it. And they didn't really have many poets, I don't think. I think I was their 3rd ever poet. But I just got lucky that there was another poet there called Barry Fenton Hall.
It's a great name.
It's a great name.
He's a great name.
Afterwards, when I was talking to him, he was like, there's no one else by that name on Facebook, so you'll find me.
Nice. I did have a teacher called Mrs. Fenton at school. I wonder if they are connected.
He's from up north, so I'm not sure.
No.
But yeah, he was there, and the way he described it to me, he was only there because his wife was out and you got a free pint if you performed on the open mic. And he happened to be there, and he came over to talk to me afterwards. And I said it was my first time. He said it's as good a first time as I've seen, and he's come down and do my show. And I went and did his show, and then met people there who asked me to go and do their show. And I think that's another good thing about particularly the poetry community. It's very, very encouraging.
Super encouraging.
People like hosts at almost every show will tell you, if you like to poet, go and tell them afterwards, because that's the stuff that keeps people going. Yeah. And as awkward as we all are, when you compliment us, we'll sort of go, oh, thank you. And
it lights that next little fire, doesn't it, to do the next thing.
Just knowing people enjoy what you did is a gigantic thing. It's such encouragement.
Another point that you had there is that I've always believed if you put something out to the universe, it will create something new for you. Yeah. So you meeting old Barry, BFH, as we'll call him from now on.
He is
that led you to the next thing, which then led you to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing.
Yeah, 100%. I think something that I've learned and that has helped me is like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Like, you don't like it and don't do it again. It's one night out of your life that it's not wasted it. You tried something new. Yeah. Like, worst case scenario is, I didn't like that as much as I thought I would. Like, if you have the drive to do something, just give it a go.
Yeah.
There's nothing awful's going to happen from trying.
No. And let go of what you think your mates will say or your family will say.
Definitely, yeah.
That's held me back for so long in so many things. What will people say?
Me too. Like I suffer with social anxiety, and I literally was crippled by it until I was like 24 or 25. And I had this moment of realisation of I'm either going to let this control me for the rest of my life, or I'm going to go and do the things I want to do. So I adopted the mantra, be brave, and like go. It's not the absence of fear that makes someone brave. It's like feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And I thought I'd come up with that. Turns out loads of people have said that. Nelson Mandela's got a great quote about it.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I came up with hate has gone hate.
Did you?
Yeah. But then that caught on. That was all around the bloody globe.
Yeah, but you started that though.
I did start
mine. Other people had already said it. You actually started hate.
Started that, yeah. I remember when I said once, don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and before you know it, everybody's saying
all
it.
over.
Everybody.
Yeah, I think I said it to you the first time I met you, and you were like, "That's mine. Don't do that."
Yeah, I've already said it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're inspirational.
Thank you. Speaking of inspirations, so we touched on Wu-Tang and Liquid Swords earlier. Who else has inspired you to... I know we've maybe mentioned Common in the past.
Yeah, I obviously love rap, but I am a white boy who is not gangster. So,
Yes, you are.
I mean, I'm a bit gangster, but it's grown as I've got older. But I knew I couldn't, like, the music that I loved was like grime music as well. It was like quite aggressive, and I just knew that wasn't me. So discovering people who were making music like what I was listening to, but had different messages, was huge. So obviously, Common, Talib Kweli, Mos Def, Tribe Called Quest, like that side of hip hop was a huge discovery for me, and that led me to Find Death Poetry Jam, which got me into poetry, and then seeing all the different kind of styles on that show. It wasn't just one kind. There's a guy called Mums the Schemer, who I found out recently died. I didn't know he died at the time. I think he died during the pandemic. But I remember seeing him, and he's an actor as well, and his poetry is almost like, the words are almost the least important thing about it. He is a performer, and he I don't know, he just manages to portray these emotions and deliver his poetry in a way that I'd never seen anything like it before, and he just blew me away. And to this day, I'll go on YouTube and just Google Mums the Schemer and watch some of his poems. And that's one of the things that held me back also, was through Googling Mums the Schemer and seeing that one of his criticisms was that his poems were just rap, and I thought I was going to turn up a poetry show and they were going to go, "No, you're rapping, fuck off." So that held me back for a long time.
How do we spell his name, by the way?
It's Mumsda Schema. I don't think it's spelled with an A. I think it's Schema spelled properly. But he's got 2 or 3 poems in Death Poetry Jam that just absolutely blew me away. And then you've got people like Saul Williams.
Saw Saul Williams live at 93 Feet East, and I was so close to the front, I got his spittle on me.
Wow.
I know. I haven't washed since.
No,
that was 8 years ago.
I was wondering what the smell was.
Yeah, Saul Williams spit.
But he's almost one of those people who you watch him perform and you're like, I can't fucking do that.
He's incredible.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
But Mums the Schemer, even though I can't do what he does, something about him being so different to what everybody else was doing made me think there's a place for everyone.
Yeah.
And he massively inspired me.
Actually, thinking about what inspired me as well is when I think we spoke on the last podcast about how we loved the big artists, but then you drift into the more undergroundy. I think when I got into my quote-unquote backpacker rap phase, so I was listening to Sage Francis, Atmosphere, Edan. You need to listen to Primitive Plus. It's unbelievable.
I will remind you of that.
Idea and Abilities, like the whole kind of anti-con movement at the time. And again, that was, I know it's not about colour, but when you see the white boys doing it and they're next level talented, next level wordplay, like so Sage Francis and B Dolan.
Yeah.
Not only are they incredible MCs, but they do poetry and spoken word as well.
Yeah.
Then when you listen and work out the level of passion and creativity, like unblemished, that they put into their work, not worrying about, am I going to lose people, am I going to gain people, like as an audience, am I going to sell 1 million or sell 5? They just give a shit about their craft.
Yeah.
And that really inspired me. I think we were saying pre-recording that Sage has got a poem where he talks about him getting into hip-hop and the journey, how people looked at him, and the kind of the negative comments that he got because he was enjoying it, etc. But to be able to tell that story and keep it hip-hop and be spoken word and be so genuine with it as well, again, another thing that really inspires me, like people can be creative, can be genuine.
Yeah, for sure. Like, genuine is such a huge word for me. Like, you can easily tell when someone is doing something that's not really them, and you can tell the poets who are doing it to make a career rather than to be good at it. Because, like, ultimately I would love for poetry to be my career, but I'm not going to make decisions based on that. I'm going to make decisions on me writing poems, or like music as well, like stuff that I am proud of and that I think is great. It's something that I heard about Ed Sheeran, is that when he was starting, I can't remember what album it was, he was starting to record his album, and he was like, right, I need to write a single for Radio 1 and a single for Radio 2, which is very clever in terms of marketing yourself, but makes me feel that his music is less genuine than I want it to be. He's not just making what he wants to make. Yeah. So it is a big thing for me. I think probably as well because of my social anxiety, I spent so much time worrying about what other people wanted me to be, not being myself. And then finally being myself, I spot it a mile off when someone is pretending, and I can see it so easily because I spent so long doing it.
But it's funny, some of the things that people think they're hiding, other people see.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can tell. I went to the Roundhouse Poetry Slam, which is, I think it's 18 to 25-year-olds. And then I went to the final of it, and there were, I think, 8 poets up on a stage, 8 or 10. But the 3 poets who were the top 3 eventually, you could tell that they were speaking from experience and telling true stories about themselves, and that stood out a mile off to me. And I had them ahead from the first round, and then they pulled further ahead in the second round. And they eventually were the top 3. I was really happy that the judges had it that way. But there were other kids who were getting up. There was one kid who did a poem about his brother and being not fitting in at school, but like keep going, and like you'll be the person you want to be, and all this, which is like, if it's a true story, it's a lovely story. But said like, oh, this is an amalgamation of my 3 brothers, and all the way through you're thinking, I'm not right, this isn't an amalgamation of your 3 brothers. You said that to make it sound more real. You wanted to write an inspiring poem, and you went with this story, but it doesn't feel true, so it's not inspiring. And I think that's quite easy to tell in there.
I think it's a sixth sense that a lot of people have. It's just whether something's genuine or ingenuine.
Yeah, which is why I always try and, like, everything I do is, like, I put my heart and soul out there.
I think you said about like knowing who you were.
Yeah.
I think it's taken me to literally my 40s, my mid-40s, to actually know who I am.
Yeah. And
feel genuine. And by pure, maybe coincidence or the planets aligning, is when I've started being my most creative.
I think the stuff happens when it's supposed to happen, to be honest with you.
Yeah, of course.
As much as you've got to work to get what you want to do, and you can't just sit around waiting for it, I do think stuff comes to the right time. And that right time is probably when you finally get to a point where you can go out and do stuff and you put yourself out there, and then once you're out there, it's much easier for these things to happen to you.
Yeah.
Like, if I hadn't started doing spoken word poetry, I'm not in a poetry slam in Kent that Aaron signs up to. The first one gets cancelled and we can't do it. The second one, I got COVID, but the person who runs Poetry Slam just happened to say to me, "Oh, Aaron's from Essex," and I just moved to Essex, so I message Aaron and say, "What's going on in the poetry scene?"
Yeah.
And he says, "Hang on a minute, how do you know Chris Glasson?"
Yeah.
Because we're talking on Facebook, and turns out like I know his best mate.
Yeah.
And that automatically gives us a connection. And like Chris says to Aaron, like, "Oh yeah, Jake's cool." So like it makes connection, and I go down and do poetry at Peggy's, and I meet you there because you come down to see Aaron. Like,
Yeah. And also know Glasson.
You know Glasson as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
like the 5 degrees of Chris Glasson, isn't it?
Yeah, literally our first interaction was Aaron said, "This is Jay, he knows Chris," and you said, "I'm sorry," and that is Chris.
I'm so sorry.
That's Chris in a nutshell. Everyone regrets knowing him. But yeah, all this stuff happens at the right time because you're putting yourself out there at that time. So I think that it's never too late to do something. I was in my 30s, you're in your 40s. Like,
yeah.
There's just take the jump and do it is my advice.
But the coincidences as well. You hear so many stories. I watch a lot of like interviews with rappers, etc. There's so many stories where they went to a gig, someone was supposed to perform but pulled out, so they were asked to do it instead, and that was the beginning of their massive career.
Yeah.
Or their friend entered them into an MC battle that they didn't want to do, and they won it, and now they're like the biggest rapper on the planet, kind of thing. All those little coincidences, but the point is they went somewhere and something happened.
Yeah.
If they'd have just sat in, then maybe I'll go next week.
Yeah.
We may never have heard of them.
Exactly. Yeah. But I also think it's important to like not focus on the fact that so many times I was going to go to a poetry show and I bowled it, and not letting that like define you. I'm not the person who just never tried poetry. I kept building myself up to it. I was so ridiculously anxious, but eventually I made myself do it, and it's probably the best thing I've ever done. Like in terms of personal growth.
Yeah.
And what pushed me as well was I had my kid, I had my first son, and I was like, how can I tell this little boy to follow his dreams and support him in that if I've never done anything to mine? And that sounds cheesy as fuck, but that's literally a thought that I had.
Yeah.
Like when he comes to me and says, "I want to do this," and I never pursued poetry or rap, like how can I tell him to do anything? Yeah. So it felt important to me.
You just haven't got the credence to give advice, and you've not even followed your own.
Yeah.
I guess it's another classic human trait, isn't it?
Yeah.
You'll give everyone all the advice in the world, but will you ever follow it yourself?
I'm incredible
Probably
at advice.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you did, mate, because you're incredibly talented. And all that talent was just sitting in there.
I don't think I realised how creative I was until I started making myself do creative things. I remember I used to think the same thing about my sister. Like, she can sing, she can draw, she can paint, she can write, she can do all these things. She doesn't really pursue any of it, and it was so frustrating to me.
Yeah.
She didn't, because she was talented and she should do it. And then I started doing the poetry, and it was going quite well. So I started painting. And it turns out I was alright at that. So I started illustrating. I was like, oh, this is going alright. Like maybe I'll try rapping again. Oh, like I'm a better rapper than I used to be, just through like osmosis. And you just have to take in the chance gets you places. It's like going, just get up and go sometimes.
Yeah.
There's never a right time.
I guess on that inspirational note, we're 30 minutes in.
Wow, that flew.
It did fly. I hope it flew by for our listener.
Yeah, you're right, mate.
Yeah.
I've not asked you anything.
Thanks for listening. Tweet in. Let us know what you thought of this. You could have been anywhere in the world tonight, but you chose to be with me and Jake, discussing poetry, words, inspiration, creative process, bravery, courage, putting yourself out there.
While you're here, why don't you be brave enough to follow us on social media? I'm Jake Nathan Creates.
And he's Jake Nathan Creates.
We are words.in.chalk, and we've got 76 spoken, but don't put any vowels in 70.
Yeah, SVNTY6.
Do put vowels in spoken.
There's a little caveat out there. So words.in.chalk.
Yeah.
Because somebody else had words in chalk.
Really?
Fuming. I didn't choose to put the dots in there.
Yeah, I never really thought
that
about
other
it.
words in chalk hasn't posted anything
When we're famous, they'll charge us like $1 million to take it off them.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we're words in chalk, is because somebody had taken words in chalk.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What a prick.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Probably roundhouse kick him if I ever see him.
He'd deserve it.
Yeah, I'm well good at roundhouse kicks.
I think you did it.
Yeah.
I like that you practice on kids, so you're not...
Yeah, we'll start low.
Yeah, work your way up.
Work my way up for the age groups. Yeah. I'm up to age 7 at the minute.
Yeah, you're getting really high up there.
Yeah.
You spent a long time at one.
I did. I was wearing tight jeans.
Fair.
But when I moved to a more balloony pantaloon...
Yeah, you've flown through.
Yeah.
Those MC Hammer trousers are
doing
you a massive favour.
So when I perform at Words in Chalk, the first piece I'm performing is called Balloony Pantaloons. It's really difficult to say.
Which makes it great for a poem.
And a podcast, yeah. Something that relies solely on words.
So yeah, come down to Chalkwell Park on the 8th of October. Come and see our show. It's £5 a ticket, and honestly, the level of performing you're getting for that is crazy.
Yeah, unbelievable. And Jake, you're going to be performing again, bare-chested, but bits of tape across your nipples?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Words.